All right, everyone, and welcome to Two Farts in a Can. This is John Moore with my co-host Jason Salter. Jay, what's going on, baby?
Not much, my brother. If I was any better, I'd be a lap dance.
Well, if you'll look on the screen, we have someone special with us today, a fellow 1986er that's with us, Derrick Sheppard, all the way from California. Derrick, what's up? What's up, buddy?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Man, couldn't be better. We're so happy to see you. Thanks for doing the promo last night. This is going to be a fun one. How are things going?
Things are going good, man. 74 degrees, a little breeze. Been a nice day.
Are you aware that you look like Harry Potter in a photo negative?
Hey, man, somebody told me I look like a turtle the other day.
A turtle. You do seem to be follically challenged.
I got plenty of hair. It's just light color.
Right.
You know, my forehead has grown as the years have gone. My forehead has grown and grown. Okay, well, today's episode is what happens in the Vega stays in the Vega. Now, I'm going to set that up real quick. If you'll look over, well, y'all can see over my shoulder. Jay used to have this 1974 Vega, and let's just say we had an adventure. Is that a way to put that, Derrick?
We had an adventure.
That's an understatement. I think it should be plural.
Plural. We all had adventures. And we're going to get to that later on. Obviously, we'll get to that later in the show. But, right now we need to make sure everybody knows. Jay, tell them where we go on Twitter and where we need to go on the website. Tell them what we got here.
Yep. So we've started some new advertisement this week. So we have an actual page, which is Two Farts in a Can. It's on Facebook. You can go there, and we posted all of the videos from all the episodes because I know you guys love seeing our beautiful faces. So we posted all the videos, all the links to the podcast are on that page. We're also on YouTube at Two Farts in a Can. We're on Twitter at Two Farts in a Can, and pronunciation on the word "at" there. You can go to our podcast, which is available on Spotify, Apple, Anchor, and I think another one, but I'm not sure exactly what it is. I think we're on another couple outside of that.
Yeah, there's, I think, Podbean and Stitcher and excuse me. I think it's on just about all of them. Just go to your favorite podcast listening and look up Two Farts in a Can. If not, it is on most of them.
And you got to get your swag. I mean, we've sold exactly 2 shirts, and I bought both of them. So I'm going to need some of you guys to buy some shit. Otherwise, I'm going to have to come to your houses and start asking for blood donations. And I don't think that's going to work out.
Yeah. Hey, we got a website, too, and there's interaction on the website. You can go there to contact. You can write, tell us a story that you remember, something that you want to put on there, and that's www.twofartsinacan.com.
Yep.
The number 2 farts in a can. And that's a story we're going to tell one day, but not today, because today we're talking about the Vega, and we're going to get into that. But let's talk about stuff that's going on. The world's starting to try to open up. But, Derrick, we haven't heard from you in a while. But before we get into what you're doing and everything, we want to talk about this COVID-19. You're a pastor. What exactly you're not the senior pastor at your church, are you?
I'm not the senior pastor. I have a campus. I'm a campus pastor, and our campus is located in Dublin, California. Yep.
Okay, and so how are y'all dealing with this COVID-19? How is that working out for y'all? My church, personally, our services are being streamed.
We're doing everything online right now, and it took us a couple minutes to catch our breath, figure out what we were doing, and I tell you, man, there's some things that have changed that won't change back. I mean, we've had like 30,000 views on our various things we're putting out just to encourage people. There is one thing that I hope won't change when we go back, and I was thinking about this today, and I was laughing to myself. Is I don't know if I can go back to wearing underwear, guys.
I haven't worn underwear in 26 years, so I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about.
I know that your lovely wife wishes you would go back to wearing underwear. I just know that.
Hey, listen, she asked me. I was getting ready to go to Safeway the other day for my daily outing, and she said, "Are you wearing underwear?" And I said, "Nope, I'm free."
I'm free balling.
I stood in a football locker room, and Derrick and I lockered next to each other for at least a year. It may have been more than that, but that man didn't wear underwear for at least as long as I've known him. It might have been a couple of years, but if he wore underwear, it was probably mine.
That was not.
And they smelled funny. So my apologies to your wife.
So let me ask you this, Derrick. Here in Texas, Jay, I want to ask you this too. Things are starting to try and open up a little bit. And look, we're not getting politics here. We don't do politics on this show. My deal is, it's easy to point fingers at both sides or do whatever. My deal is, if they're going to open up, everyone still, if you're vulnerable, if you have underlying health conditions, be smart. Be smart. You don't need to be out doing that. If you need to go to the store and do stuff, have people do it for you. If you have a grandparent that's ill or whatever, you can't go see grandma and grandpa right now. You need to stay out of it. I know young kids today think they're hey, I can rule the world and do that. There's other people to consider when you're doing this thing. You guys just need to be smart about it. Maybe we can start opening up. Yeah, we can start to try to do things, but let's not be idiots. Because look, we're about to tell you how we were idiots once, but it didn't involve life and death that can be here. So be smart, folks.
Sure. Right. I'll tell you, John, and I'm sure Derrick will chime in on this as well, because the reality is, I don't know if everybody that's listening to this podcast realizes this, but we live in 3 very distinctive states. Yes. I live in Florida, which is operated in one capacity. John lives in Texas, completely different capacity, 1,000 miles away. And Derrick in California, which is another 1,000 miles away and a completely different capacity. I really believe that if nothing else, that the coronavirus, and I'm a silver lining guy, but if the coronavirus has taught us nothing, it's that you need to take personal accountability for yourself. So if your state is in disarray and there are things that you need to adhere to, and there are personal beliefs for yourself in terms of how you protect you and your family and how you go about your everyday life, then you need to do that. What happens in California for Derrick or for you in Texas is not the same as what happens for me in Florida.
Absolutely.
Those are 3 completely different things. And by the way, everything that happens in Florida is not an overarching thing. It happens different county by county, city by city, neighborhood by neighborhood. And so I'm very optimistic that if nothing else, this coronavirus has put the onus back on the population for us to make the best decisions for the individual instead of trying to take an overarching approach to everything.
Yep.
That's a very, I really like how you said that, Jason. I've been telling people, hey, I'm over 50 years old, black man with high blood pressure. I'm a perfect taco for COVID-19.
Right.
Unfortunately, brother, I don't think your color's got nothing to do with it, because I got high blood pressure too. But
so do I.
Self-inflicted.
So do I. What the hell happened to us? We all got old. Our blood pressure goes up. I have no patience with my kids now. I mean, it's just, I remember how we were never going to be our parents. We were never going to be our parents. And I look, boy.
Now we are.
I can rule my house with a look. And my dad could do that.
Oh, yeah. I understand. Need to have it.
So let me ask you guys now we're falling right into my time of year because baseball is supposed to be going on right now, but there's nothing going on. Basketball should be going on. We should be getting into the playoffs of basketball. We're all football fans. Obviously it's off season stuff, so nothing's been affected. But I mean, guys, I stayed up till midnight the other night to watch a Korean baseball game because they are playing baseball again. And I have adopted a team called the NC Dinos, who I've adopted in Korea, and I stayed up to watch them play. By the way, 2-0. Go Dinos. Dinos, whatever you are.
Hey,
But it was surreal. How are y'all doing with, I mean, really, you're having to just stream a lot of videos and stuff. I mean, I don't know. It is tough without sports.
Well, for me, when you talk about sports, it affects my kids. And,
yes.
I got a junior in high school who wants to play college football. I got a kid in college who's running track, and his whole season got cut. So they're trying to stay in shape, and it's weird, and it's messing with their dreams and what they want to do for the future. So that's how it's affecting me. the sports, no sports thing, you know?
Yeah. Derrick, do you feel like it's do you feel like it's derailing their development a little bit? I'm just curious about this because, you know, I know all three of us played sports on this
Right.
on this call, and you know, a lot of our personal development and how we did things was driven by a coach. Whether we liked that coach or whether we didn't, that coach got us to do things that, I mean, it was a coach that got me up and made me go to practice every morning. It wasn't my personal will.
Yeah.
You know, so do you find yourself kind of replacing that person in terms of motivating?
You know, I do, but interestingly enough, man, a lot of I have a sixth grader too, and he plays travel basketball, and man, they're working out more vigorously online. They have you know, their coach that comes on there, all of them, you know, on a Zoom call and practicing their stuff, and they get feedback every day. So he's got 3 of those practices a day.
Right.
So that piece is happening. I tend to look at the positive side. Man, I mean, how often do you get a chance to spend a solid month with your kids? Now, that's good and bad.
Yeah.
But I think that ultimately, when the wash comes out, it's going to be we're going to look back on this time, and it's going to be a precious time that that we wouldn't have got to spend any other kind of way. You know,
I agree.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Now, Jason, your kids are grown, but Derrick and I still have kids that are younger in there.
Sure.
But, you know, before we go further, we need to get into Derrick and what's up with Derrick. Obviously graduated us. It's been, we 35 years into this, 34 years out of high school. Derrick, you're in California. You have your own campus where you're a pastor. Tell us the path. Where did you meet the wife? I know y'all have 5 boys now. We were talking about it a little bit last night. Tell us about the family, what you did, and how you got out there.
Well, originally moved out here, just my car and clothes and stereo, and drove out here. I landed in Oakland, man, with a culture shock from Duncanville. And I tell you, and
I was kind of thinking the Raiders might move to Duncanville.
Yeah, that would be something. That would be something, you know.
And let's be honest. Let's say what Derrick's talking about, a culture shock. For any of you guys that grew up in our day and age, Derrick was very much in the minority in Duncanville.
Right.
You know, being an African American man in our high school back then.
What?
Jason, he is black. I don't know if you can see him.
I don't have color TV.
But you said you got to so you got to Oakland. So getting to Oakland was a culture shock.
Culture shock, man. You know, and
why did you head out there? Were you going out there for a job with a church, or?
You know, I wasn't coming from the church. I felt like I needed a change, and I actually came out here to go to Bible college in Santa Cruz. Which plans changed a little bit, but that was my initial intention. I didn't go to that Bible college. I ended up going to a different one, but that was my goal. You know, interestingly, you know, it really shows a difference in Duncanville and where I'm from. My wife is originally from here, and when I brought her to a class reunion, do you guys remember that one that was in a country and western bar?
Yes.
What's the name of that place?
It was part of that. Was that the big hotel we were all staying at, and it had the?
No, it was if somebody in our class had a bar.
Yeah, that was Rodney and Cam.
Yes.
Oh, that's what. Yes.
Rodney Bridger.
Okay, so
yeah, Rodney
that's
Bridger's
what I brought my wife to.
Listen, I know you're a culture shock from Oakland. Let me take you to a country bar in Duncanville. That's going to smooth shit out really quick.
Yeah, man. And, you know, I brought her in, and some big old boy with a belt buckle about that big around and a 10-gallon hat says, "Derrick Sheppard, I'm going to buy you a shot of whiskey."
Oh, Jim Moore. Yeah, we met.
Now tell us about your wife. Where'd you meet her? Tell us about her. We've seen
met her in a church that she grew up in, and I landed in Oakland, and I was at that church for probably 26, 27 years. Learned there, grew there, met her there. I was a youth leader, and she was a youth. Don't tell nobody. But she went to college, and then we ended up dating and getting married, and we have 5 kids. My oldest, I mentioned to you yesterday, is works for the NSA. He's a Marine, and then I have the next one is in University at Belmont in Tennessee. He runs track there, studying the music business. Then I have a junior in high school football player. Then I have a one going to be a freshman next year. And then I have a 6th grader as well, all boys. So you can imagine.
Your poor wife. Oh my gosh.
A lot going on in here.
Oh, she's got it. But what is the saying that when she gets to heaven? You said it last night. That was hilarious.
When she gets to heaven, God will give her, I believe he'll give her own toilet and bathroom, because it's piss on everyone I got right now.
And as men,
because at 12 years old, you will pee on your mom.
Oh yeah.
you don't need a toilet.
That's real. That
yes,
is real.
I get it.
So, okay, guys, anything before we start getting into any of our feedback from the last episode and anything like that? Is there anything interesting this week you guys got coming up, or anything interesting this week that happened? That's what I was going to ask. Anything interesting this week that happened?
I'll tell you, the only thing that's happened interesting in my life is that the whole world's kind of slowly starting to open up, and we talked about that a little bit at the beginning of the show. And it's happening a little bit differently in Florida than it is in Texas and California, and so we're slowly starting to reopen. And so you can, like I was, for example, I was in a restaurant earlier today. Well, they can only have X amount of people in the restaurant at a certain time. And there's literally people standing outside with the old umpire clickers, counting people in and counting people out. And they do that at Home Depot and Costco and all that type of stuff. So for me, and I'm a big political nutbag, and we won't get into that on this show because it's not worth the pain. But I'm obviously encouraged by the fact that people are able to govern themselves. They're not just waiting on a government to say you can do A, B, or C. They're taking the boundaries in which they're given, and then they're exercising that inside their business and doing it within the law and doing it respectably and managing their people and their business and their associates. And it's been really interesting as a businessman for me to watch. Some people I think take it for granted, but I've really enjoyed watching it.
Okay, my week was I made a video about wiffle ball.
I drew that car, that Vega.
I drew the Vega, and I made a video about wiffle ball with my kids. So,
hey, which by the way, and I think I said this last night, I want to say it again now that everybody's listening. That was an amazing video. I really enjoyed watching it. And John called me, and he does this shit to me all the time. He'll call me at like 7:00 in the morning and go, "I got an idea." I'm like, I'm still asleep and hungover. Could you call me back in like 11 hours? And so, we talk later. He's like, "Hey, this is what I want to do." I'm like, "Man, that's fantastic." But it was an amazing video, and I know your son Ryan does some editing with it.
Yeah,
and,
he's my freshman.
Have a great time. It was so much fun to watch. I'm glad you got so many views on it. Congratulations.
Yeah, it's been getting a lot of views, but that's what we did. We had fun doing that. I think Mom really enjoyed watching us do that. Derrick, what happened this week that was interesting with you?
My gosh, man. I think I washed my car for the 3rd time.
The third time ever, or this week?
This week. It's clean. It's clean.
It's really clean. I may drive to California. I need to clean mine so bad. I tell you right now, have y'all had much rain? We're getting a lot of rain. So we get sunny, and then I haven't had to run my sprinkler system. In Texas, I haven't had to run my sprinkler system.
Wow. We've gotten to the pleasant time of year, or what you pay for when you.
Oh, shut up! It's always pleasant in California.
It's nice, man. I mean, it's 74 degrees, sunshine, beautiful.
Oh,
Yeah, I told somebody here the other day, they asked me the same thing, and I said, here's the traditional weather forecast in Florida. It's going to be hot. It's going to be hot as shit, and it's going to rain at 4:30.
Well, you're in a beach town, but you're near the beach. That's why that happens to you. And my wife and I, when we went on of course, we went on our honeymoon 18 years ago, but when we went back there at our 10-year anniversary and we looked at the forecast, we could get on our phones then and look at your forecast and see what it was going to be. It was down in Mexico and around there, and it was going to rain every day. And I was like, this is going to be miserable. And we got down there and we said, we saw it's going to rain all day. And the guy goes, it rains here every day of the year. And at 3 o'clock, it rained for 30 minutes.
Yep.
Wow.
Not enough to cool anything off, just enough to piss you off.
Yep, that's it. Did we have any weird feedback this week, Jade? I know you've been going through
a little bit. And, I say this every week, and I want to say it again because I think we got some new folks coming in through the advertising we've done. But first of all, I want to say happy birthday to a good redneck buddy of ours. Rodney Bridgers had a birthday this week. That popped up on Facebook. And for those of you that don't know Rodney Bridgers, he's a great friend of ours. We've known it since childhood. So happy birthday to Rodney. Laura Jane Thompson. Do you remember LJ?
She lived in our neighborhood, didn't she?
She did. So she posted, and this was on, it was right at the end of April. So it's between the two shows. And she said, loving the memories. This is the best podcast by the class of 86 Duncanville grads who are lifelong friends and love being the center of attention. Never change, in all capitals. And I don't know what the hell that means, but I told her, mind her own damn business. We got shit to do. But no, I love Laura Jane. She lived down the street. She lived down there by you in your original house down there down there around the corner.
I didn't have an original house. You know me. I lived in 6 houses in that neighborhood. It went
you
all
did.
Over.
You
went
did.
all
You lived in 6 houses there. I think we got a discount after 5. So.
Jay and I could have started a moving business with my mother as our only customer.
Yeah. Just don't break your pee-pee.
Okay. Listen, I know everyone wants to hear the Vegas story, and we are going to tell the Vegas story, but we've got other Derrick Sheppard stories that we're going to get into before that. And I want all of us to go back and talk about some of your favorite. The one that now, Derrick, you said something about my old station wagon, Old Blue, is what you were talking about. And I was excited to hear about this one and find out, because Old Blue, if Old Blue could talk, we would have had her crushed before she ever had a chance.
Let me tell you, man, I've been thinking about it, and I'm pretty sure that was the first time I ever broke the law.
And what year was that, Pastor Sheppard?
It was a while ago.
Hey, I'm here to serve. I'm here to serve. However you.
Well, not me. No, I'm here to mess stuff up. What year was that?
My gosh, man.
So, had to be our freshman or sophomore year. That's when I drove that car.
It was our freshman year for sure, and I'm not sure if it was like. Hey, no, I think it was after hours. It was a grab the key, sneak out, one of those. It was not it wasn't a sanctioned event.
Yeah. Mom, he doesn't know what he's talking about. I have never left my house.
It was not a sanctioned event.
It wasn't a sanctioned event. Now, what did we do? I don't even.
I don't know how we got connected that night, but I mean, first of all, let me just describe what I was through my eyes that I'm looking at. You guys are pretty new for me. Y'all came from Reed. Y'all went to Reed, right?
Right. Yeah. We were Reed guys.
So y'all we're all new friends as freshmen.
By this time, yeah.
By this time, and so here I'm getting in the car and John, you are a towhead.
Oh. I was as white as the Vega back behind me. My hair was.
I'm glad you grew out of that.
You had some bangs that come right here.
I didn't have bang. I had feathers because I would feather my hair.
Well, it was covering up your 5 head.
Yes. Dude, and I would spray my feathered hair, and when I was looking down, it would flap out. It was like a plane landing. Okay, so did I come pick you up?
You either picked me up or we met on the corner.
we usually found our black friends on the corner. We had to go get them on the corner.
Now, Sheppard would actually tell you if you talked to him on the phone, he would actually make you pick him up away from his house.
Oh, that's right, because you were sneaking out. You didn't want us getting near your home. That's what it was.
He didn't want his parents seeing who he was hanging out with, and I don't blame him at all
for that.
I do remember that we would have to. That's why we do. He would go, no, just go to the corner. I'll pick you up at the corner.
Man, let me tell you. And so we get into this. That car must have been 50. It was huge, huge. That station wagon. What was Oldsmobile?
It was
or
a
Buick
1978. It was a 1978 Oldsmobile, made of solid steel. I mean, it wouldn't have crumpled at all.
You couldn't kill it.
And I'm telling you, the engine in that thing was one of those. I'm not a motorhead, but it had to be a 450 or whatever they call those, the big ones, because that thing. I know that thing would go.
Oh yeah. Well, I know we went over 100. That was my first time ever going over 100.
In John's mom's station wagon?
Oh yeah, and we got air in it too, didn't we, John?
Didn't we jump the? Is that when we jumped? We jumped the railroad tracks. The railroad tracks down. Oh, you were there. Yes.
On purpose.
Yes. Someone said, dude, you got to gun it over those railroad tracks. Were you not with us, Jason?
No, I was not there that night.
Dude, that thing caught air. And the part about it isn't bad when you go with the air and when you hit, it's that you're bouncing and you think you can get control of it. Not one of us were buckled in. We were bouncing around all through that thing. And yes, oh my gosh, that's right. I remember that.
My dad always said, it's not the jump off the building that kills you, it's that sudden stop at the
end.
Oh my gosh. Is that breaking the law? Is that what we did, going 100 miles an hour?
We started going over this, over 100. It was well over 100.
Oh
John.
My gosh. Well, Derrick, you were never one to show your displeasure, maybe if we were going a little too fast, or
that's not true.
Or if we were doing something maybe you didn't want to do, like some coach on the sideline yelling out, "Run it again." I mean, you never had a problem doing telling people what you thought. So I can only imagine how many times you probably said, "What the hell are you doing? Settle down."
I didn't want to scare you. I didn't know what you were capable of.
Yeah, the little white-headed, feather-haired guy at the control of the lunar module that I was driving. That thing was huge, man. We could have had that thing was in a parade.
It was basically Joe Exotic in a station wagon.
Yeah.
Hey man, let me tell you this. I mean, I can't even we were so wild. I mean, I got some stories on here that I can't mention names.
Oh,
I got some, we were pretty wild. And so, I mean, I've been looking for my kids to do that. And surprisingly enough, there haven't been at least, you don't tell your parents stuff until you get about 30 or 40, huh?
Well, let me tell you what children don't realize today. It's really cool to have one of these cell phones, and they all want one, and they think that's neat. It's an electronic leash, because if I'm going to pay for you to have this, you're going to answer it when I call.
Oh yeah.
Because we had way more freedom than our kids did, because our parents, when we walked out of the house, there was no way to get a hold of us. You couldn't pick up a cell phone and go, "Hey, where are you at, idiot?"
Hey, let me tell you this. I was thinking about this today, and I'm not going to mention any names, but y'all, if you're watching, you know who you are.
If I can figure it out, I will.
I
Rubber shears.
As a junior, I had a mustache, and we would go cross town to happy hour. with 30 and 40-year-old women for cocktail shrimp and tequila sunrise.
Wonder who that could have been.
Yeah, who was able to? Who, for some reason, I could never pull off the look that I could go hang out with 40-year-old women. Since until I was 30, I looked 14.
We'd have to pull your bangs back a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, let me tell you what you guys got to look forward to. Your teenagers coming to you and realizing they've been caught doing whatever it was they were doing. And whatever they're going to tell you, in your head, you're going to go, pussy.
That's true.
Oh,
you
I've
stay
got
out 30 minutes past your curfew. Wow. Rebel without a cause.
We stole a plane and flew to Vegas.
I've got a 13-year-old who plays 7th grade. He's a football player. Now he is like Robert Eddy used to be. He's one of these kids that'll knock your head off and do that. And he is athletic. He's fun, but that kid will not try it. You have to almost force him to try something. He is so timid about getting in trouble, or he won't ride a roller coaster, and this kid will put on football gear. And I just look at my wife and go, you're lucky. You're lucky, because this kid, he hasn't realized yet, every girl in his class thinks he's good looking and he's an athlete, and he's oblivious to it.
That's dangerous.
Wow. Yeah.
That is dangerous.
Now, one of my favorites, and I kind of mentioned this a while ago, but so our junior year, we were playing football, and if you want to know how Derrick, so Coach Dubberly, bless his heart, got stuck coaching the JV, and I think you
got to set the lineup so that everybody understands who's in what spots.
Okay,
that's
so
the best part.
Caraway's at center. They had by this time they were back down on JV. We weren't on varsity. We had Derrick. We had the only varsity players were probably Rubel and Rubel was gone by then, but
Devin Jones.
Devin Jones was up.
Yeah, God rest his soul, but Devin Jones was down there.
Major was up. Major didn't play JV with us. He was up.
No.
He was on the varsity. But our offensive line from our senior year was there.
Yeah.
On the JV, and we had Duck and Sheppard are in the backfield. You were the quarterback. I was a wide receiver, and so we were down near the goal line, getting close. And Derrick was our fullback. And for those that don't know football, he's kind of the battering ram there, but he would also take a short. He's the one that would get nailed every time he went up the middle, but he could get short yardage. That's what we was trying to do. So Coach Dubberly called a play. We were down there, and we were just going to get Derrick to ram it down the middle and get us a touchdown there. We're probably about 5-7 yards out. And either they knew what was coming, somebody slipped the center or the guard or whatever, and Derrick was met 3 yards in the backfield by 3 guys. One of them was this Hispanic dude that was no taller than me, but as wide as the Vega back behind us. I remember that. And, I mean, you got – pasted. I mean, they pasted you on that play. And you got up putting your helmet on straight, trying to get your mouthpiece, and Coach Dubberly is on the sideline. And instead of sending in a new play he is screaming, "Run it again! Run it again!" And Derrick had this look. Now, I've seen the look. I've seen it going 100 miles an hour down a highway when he did.
You've seen it in Horse Apple Wars.
I've seen it in Horse Apple Wars. The displeasure, and he was looking at him, and he was mumbling, but he said it loud enough. He was like, "Why are you screaming, run it again?"
They can hear you.
They can hear you screaming, "Run it again." And we were all just sitting there shaking our heads, and I will always laugh at that one. And when he made fun of Coach, what was it, Bodie, Coach Bodie, and he'd put that football in his shirt, and he was in practice. He would get next to Coach Bodie, and he would make fun of Coach Bodie.
The best part about that story with Dubberly was that I'm playing quarterback, And Sheppard is all kinds of pissed off because he knows he's about to get demolished again because we just announced it to the other team.
Yep.
And him and Duck are in the huddle lobbying like Congress. Please don't call that play again. Yeah, you should call that play again because he was almost there. That's Duck and Sheppard going back at one another. No. He was right there. Like, if I can do the fake better, he can get through the line. Derrick's like, no, I can't. I'm bleeding out of my ear hole. I can't do that again.
That was hilarious. I tell you, the story is this: is that before we ran the play the first time, I noticed the Latino man in the hole. I took the ball from Jay and turned it into another play and ran to a different hole. Coach Doubly did not like that, and to punish me, he made us run it again.
I didn't realize that's why.
That guy was like 12 years old. He just didn't process. I think he was the same age.
My gosh.
You know,
he was young, wasn't he?
Yeah,
he was. He
wound up dating or married to somebody I think that was a year older than us.
No, so that he ended up married to a girl that graduated a couple years before us, but it was after she graduated.
Yeah.
And her name was Haas. Last name was Haas, and I knew her brother was Stephen Haas, who was a year younger or 2 years younger than us. Anyway, they're divorced. But
Christina.
But no, I think it was Debbie or something. Anyway, she was 2 or 3 years older than us. We didn't really know her. I only knew her because my family and her family knew each other. So when we were kids, we kind of hung out a little bit. But Dubberly was probably, when he was coaching at Duncanville, was probably 25, 26 years old. Yeah. Is all he was. And in the day and age of being able to look people up, I can't find him. I have looked his name. I found it somewhere in Louisville where he was from, but you can't find a photo of him, anything.
There's probably a skinny black fullback somewhere that killed him.
It could have been. Could have been.
I tell you what, I was thinking about Dubberly, and I remember that the brothers, all we were thinking about is trying not to land where he was spitting his tobacco at.
Oh, my God. Yes. He had no aim with that either. He would fling that out. He'd get it down his chin.
I thought it was on his shirt.
I mean, he put the chew in and spit. And I just remember when we were on varsity, he was like a pet. I swear Coach Gandy treated him like a pet. He ran next to Coach Gandy with the headphones on, and Gandy would never wear the headphones. And Dubberly is like right on his tail, and yep. The whole taking it off. Yep. And spit coming out everywhere. And we had those beautiful button-up shirts, and they had this big spit spot over here, and it was real wet right in that spot.
Oh my gosh! Wow. Wow.
Okay.
I tell you, man, what I sure appreciate. You don't appreciate it at the time, but I sure do appreciate. Those guys put a lot into us.
Oh yes.
They expected us to act like men. And so I appreciated that.
I did too.
Yeah. Now, did you ever end up coaching any of your kids, Derrick?
I tried to coach once.
Only knew one play, 31 belly.
And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna screw up one of my kids if I do this. And let me tell you this. I'll tell you that this is a funny one because Major and I have talked about it, and he went berserk in a little league football game. He was coaching for his son, and he had to write letters of apology to the parents.
Oh, I got to get him on here next because I'm going to need to hear that story.
Oh my God. Let me tell you. So I have coached both my boys, and I've coached football for 4 years, coached baseball. Guys, I've got another family that's in our neighborhood, good friends of ours, and I have coached both their kids from the time they were 5. Now they're both in high school, and one's in junior high. He's in 7th grade like my other. To say my record is less than stellar, let's put it this way. If I had a contract to be a coach from the time for all those years, my contract I would have never gone more than 2 years. I mean, we never won hardly anything. And
Wow.
and that's where I learned I'm just going to try to make them have fun because and you know what? I had some kids on my team who had no father figure.
Right.
And I know that my dad had moved away when I was junior and senior high school, and the coaches meant a lot to me. And I have tried to keep up with those kids.
Yeah.
When they see me, they say, Coach John, I love that. I do love that.
Yeah.
And my wife, bless her heart, told me, be patient, and I had to be, because there are times I have lost it, and I have lost my cool. But for the most part, I had to just go, okay, we're not going to win a lot of this stuff, so I'll just be patient and make sure they're having a good time doing this. And I will say, off my football team that won one game, they went 1-9. All the kids came from different areas. We were kind of the throw together team. We were like, some of them would go all to the same elementary and all that. All my kids went off to junior high, and they all made the A team on their junior.
Wow.
So I took that as pride right there.
Not discipline.
Okay. Vega.
The time has come.
Okay, so I want to hear this story from Derrick's point of view, and then I'll go to mine. Derrick, set the stage for us. Well, you know what, Jason? Tell us about the Vega.
Yeah, let me tell you about the Vega. I think that's a great place to start. I think everybody's listening to this probably realizes that Texas was probably the only state where you were allowed to get a hardship license.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you had siblings that were going to school and both your parents worked, you qualified for a hardship license, you could get that at 15. And so I qualified for that. My dad was a cop. My mother worked at a dentist office, and I had 3 siblings, and they needed to go to school. So I qualified for that. So I had a driver's license at 15, probably not unlike John did.
Yeah, I did.
But I didn't have a vehicle. So I drove I would take my mother to work, drop her off, then take the kids to school. Well, the Vega was the first vehicle I got. And I got it, I believe, at the end of my sophomore year. My dad paid $200 for it. He got it from an old lady from Pasadena. I mean, it is the classic story of how you get your first used car. This thing, I don't want to say it was a piece of shit, but it was a giant piece of shit. But you couldn't kill it. It would start every day, but it might not run all day. About the time you wanted to set it on fire, the car would magically start. It was like Herbie the Love Bug met Christine. It was just a bad situation for all things involved. It got broken into. We got the radio stole out of it. But I do know for a fact that 13 sophomores from Duncanville High School will fit in that vehicle because we put them in there. And we drove around town. So there are a million stories that happened inside the Vega, and what you're about to hear is one of them. And unfortunately, it corrupted Pastor Sheppard and several other of our friends, and John being one of them. I don't count John as part of the people that we corrupted because he basically bought it on himself because he liked to be corrupted. And he wanted to be a part of it all the time, just like I did. So we volunteered for it. Everybody else got sucked into it like a vortex.
Now, look, I've got Vegas stories. None of them compared to the one we're about to say. I mean, when Jason first drove it, it was a stick shift. Kids today don't know what that is. Stick shift. And we pulled up to the lot at Daniel Dell on Main Street and at an angle. And when Jay would let out the clutch, we would go back 4 feet, and you were looking in the rearview mirror like you were going to hit the car behind you. And then we went to Pizza Inn. You didn't know how to get it out of reverse and ran through the fence at Pizza Inn because you didn't know how to drive it. That's funny stories. This is the Vegas story, though.
I told somebody today, they were asking, they said, hey, listen, I'm reading on your page that you're going to talk about the Vega. What's so big about the Vega? And I was like, oh, it's just, my first used car. And, I had it when I was in high school. And they're like, yeah, but I just don't understand. So we started getting into this deeper conversation about the Vega. And I said, well, it was a 3-speed. And I said, do you know what a 3-speed is? And it was a younger person that works for me. And they said, I didn't know there were different speeds. And I said, well, to help you out with that, they didn't make a 3-speed beyond 1980. So it was an antique when I got it. I said, do you know what an 8-track player is? And they said, no, it's an 8-track player. I said, well, my car had an 8-track player in it. And it only had AM radio. Didn't have FM radio. I put it in there aftermarket. I think I got it for, $60 or something on some stupid.
Which was a lot of money.
Oh my God. I had to pay somebody to put it in. But I had AM radio and an 8-track player, and a busted out window. And it was just a complete tragedy the entire way around.
Hey,
but it was a lot of fun.
Let me say this about the Vega. Because you might not have had a chance to enjoy this feature of it, Jason, because you had to be in the back seat to enjoy it.
I enjoyed a lot of features in that.
This car had a hump in the middle. And not only was that a big hump, but you could feel the heat coming off whatever that is that runs that axle.
I call that the kettle.
That's where all the power comes from.
Throw all the coal in there in the morning.
So you had a thick frame there, did you, that was protecting everybody from the heat coming over there? Imagine if you pulled the carpet back, you were looking straight at the drivetrain spinning right there. That's probably what that is.
So you were unlucky if you got that hump.
Yes.
That's right. You better get picked up first.
Yeah.
I was so damn lucky I lived in his neighborhood. I was so damn lucky.
I'll pick you up on the way back.
And let me tell you what else worked, Sheppard. The heat was the only thing that worked. And it worked. And he would run it in the summer after he farted and rolled the windows up. And that's when he would run it. And that thing, you couldn't get the windows down. You couldn't just push a button like today. It was like it's like trying to jack a car up.
You gotta turn that heat on to let the seasoning set in.
Well, he would turn the heat on. He would turn the heat on, and I would go look at the heat, and I'd be like, "What is he doing?" And when I looked that way, he had been staring at me the whole time, going. He knew what was coming. So what happened the night that we did this?
Well, there was lots of stories about the Vega. My mind thinks about this, and I thought about this today because it wasn't a very good friend thing to do, is that we jumped out of there and left Jason deal with the Vega.
Yeah, we did.
Yes, we did. I would never do that to anybody, but I don't know what I was thinking that day. And I hope you weren't on a train track. Were you on a train track?
No. But the best part is you jumped out of the car with me, which you thought was a disaster. And then I think you got into the truck with Leatherface.
Hey, set the story up. Let's set that up because Derrick and I had some fun that night. So let's set that up. So first of all, where were we?
All right, I can set this up. So I think it was me, John, Derrick, and I think it was Steve Duck. And hopefully somebody will chime in on the Facebook page later and remind us of who it was. And there might have actually been a fifth person who might remain unnamed.
I keep thinking Blevins was there for some reason, but I can't.
I have no idea. But I know that there were too many people in that vehicle.
Right.
Because there always were. But we were way out on the end of Clark Road. And when we grew up, if you live in Duncanville now, that whole area has grown up. But when we grew up, Clark Road was just a few gravel pieces short of a dirt road.
Yeah.
And that's where I believe it was Daniel Dale kind of, I don't want to say dead ended because Daniel Dale went forever, but it crossed Clark Road, and that's kind of where civilization ended.
Yes.
But if you wanted to get around Duncanville late at night, you went down Clark Road because you could go from Cedar Ridge all the way down to the woods, and you could loop around and really kind of get around Duncanville without having to get too much into the city. And so you could avoid the police and and anybody else that might be looking out for you.
For people that did things that they weren't supposed to. Okay,
exactly.
Go ahead.
We thought we were super smart because we were 12 and had a vehicle, and so we're driving down Clark Road. Well, in typical fashion, we got down to the end of Clark Road, which was on an incline, and we ran out of gas. And it wasn't the first time we'd run out of gas. I'm going to say that in all honesty.
Hey, did we run out of gas or did the kettle get hot?
Well, I think that remains an unsolved mystery.
The way I remember it is we didn't know exactly what happened at first until someone said, did you put gas in it? Jason got the look of, oh, shit.
Well, I know I didn't have any money because none of us ever had any money. That's why we were all riding in the same
I'm
truck.
remembering something. I don't think the gas gauge worked. Did the gas gauge work?
No, the gas station
No.
didn't.
Okay,
No,
that's it. That's it.
It was purely a guessing game.
Yeah, it was all a guessing game. So
But you felt like it in your heart that there was gas in there.
Yeah.
Well, you don't tell your friends, hey, I came and picked you all up, and we're probably going to run out of gas. I'm just not sure when that's going to happen.
Hope everybody's got 50 cents or $1 because we may need some gas.
We're at the end of Clark Road, and we're trying to come uphill, moving back towards Danieldale so we can start dropping folks off, because I'm pretty sure if we went straight down Danieldale, we could drop Sheppard off, we could drop everybody off, and then you and I would go back to the neighborhood. And we didn't quite make it up that hill.
Yeah, you would take a ride on Danieldale to get to Sheppard's. You'd take a left at that Greenway or whatever, Greenstone maybe, that went down by Bird, and that's how you went
down there into the green. I think back behind Bird.
And of course, he would just drop him on the corner. He wouldn't.
Right. Don't go to my house. My parents don't like white folks.
Drop me at Bird. I'll get home. Just drop me at Bird.
We never made it up the hill on Clark Road.
No.
We got about halfway up, and that thing ran out of gas.
Wow. Yep.
Yeah.
And it was July, hot in August, and we were pushing that stupid vehicle up the street, which, in all honesty, was not the first time we had done that.
No.
But on a hill makes a total difference.
Yeah, that's true.
So we're pushing it. I'm pretty sure we had John in the passenger seat, and the rest of us were pushing that thing up the hill.
You mean in the driver's seat, steering?
Driver's seat, yeah. And John's steering the vehicle, and the rest of us are trying to push, and we were not making too much headway. And
I think because I would hit the brake for fun, just because that was who I was. I mean, I might hit the brake. Just a little friction.
All I remember is that about the time we were ready to give up,
headlights,
the stunt doubles from Deliverance showed up.
Yeah. Headlights come up over the horizon. And let me tell y'all, Derrick can back this. That far where these headlights were coming from, they weren't coming from town. They were coming from
Midlothian.
I wouldn't have been surprised to have seen a deer carcass on the hood of this truck from a hunt or something like that. And Derrick, we became the volunteers, I guess. I don't remember how this but anyway.
I know how. It was hot as shit outside, and y'all didn't want to push anymore.
Hey, man, let me tell you. I was looking at you, John. I was like, I'm looking at you, white boy. I don't know. Do you trust this man?
Yeah. I did out of pure laziness. I was like, yeah.
I'm white. If he's going to kill somebody, it's going to be you. And why he with you?
You notice I wanted you to go, Derrick. Derrick, you go. Come on, you go with me.
My gosh.
We're going to kill one of y'all. Take my black friend. I'm not that attached to him anyway.
Jason, we got in this truck, Derrick. We didn't go to the gas station, did we?
No, we didn't.
Oh, my gosh. All of a sudden, after we got in the back of the pickup, so Derrick and I are just sitting in the back, and this guy leans out and goes, hey, we gotta run this guy home first before we go do that. and Derrick and I are sitting on the two wheel humps, and we look at each other like, do we jump? What do we do? Because they turned into a neighborhood, and they were going through alleys, and I was going, I mean, we were looking at each other like, if you're going to make a break for it, I'll break for it. I'll run. I don't know where we are, but we'll come out somewhere.
Felt like we went across the county.
One of you is going to swing.
Hey, felt like we went across the county line. We started getting further and further away from home.
Oh, I know. And I know, look, and I know Derrick was scared. I was scared. We were both going, okay, what did we do? I mean, this guy, and you know what? Nicest guy pulled up. Well, we didn't know this yet. Dropped that guy off and said, all right, we're going to the gas station now. And because Derrick and I almost jumped. We almost jumped when they got in front of this house because we didn't know where we were. And so.
That was hilarious.
Yeah.
That's something else, man.
Take us home, Derrick. He takes us back. And you guys, you talk about perfect timing. you guys were pushing into that gas station, and we come over the hill in the back of that pickup truck. And so all in all, Derrick and I didn't have to push that sumbitch all the way up the hill.
I'm right. I think Duck and I pushed that son of a bitch all the way to the top of the hill.
Wow. What
now
a
that we're
memory.
talking about it, I'm not 100% certain that Chuck Swanson was not in that car.
He very well may have been. You
He may
know,
have been.
I'm gonna tell you, I have probably 10 situations like that where it was pretty crazy, and he was in most of them. He was in most of them.
I know we pushed that thing. We got it all the way to the top of the hill, and it was me and Duck and whoever that third anonymous person was, and we got it actually we pushed it into the gas station parking lot. There was a trucker there, and he was drinking coffee, and I don't know if it was the same guy that drove you guys around. I don't think it was, but he was in there drinking coffee, talking to the clerk, and I came in sweating like a hostage. And I needed gas, and I looked at the clerk and I said, "Can I get 80 cents worth of regular?" That's all I had.
Gosh.
And at the time, gas was only, it might have been 65, 70 cents a gallon.
Right.
And I said, I got like 80 cents. And the trucker took pity on us and gave the guy $5 and said, "Put $5 in your tank and get home." And it was
that probably filled it up
for us.
That probably
that was enough to go out partying.
Yeah,
you're damn right. I think we used it all the way to the next weekend. I was like, man, that hillbilly gave us $5. We're good to go.
Derrick and I didn't understand what was the big deal. We got in the car. We weren't sweaty at all. We were ready to go. You guys all wanted to go home, and we were like, "Why?"
My God! Wow, man, that was something.
It had to be midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning in Duncanville, which was not probably the best time to be out running around.
No. Wow, man. Wow. That was fun.
Yes, it was.
Fun time.
You said you remembered you just remember more nights in the Vega, don't you, when we drove that thing around? You know what? How you ever picked up a woman, I don't know, in that thing.
It wasn't easy. So I'll tell you a story because I was thinking about this earlier today, and I can't remember who it is, and I'm hoping somebody on Facebook will remind me.
Mike Long.
No, it wasn't Mike Long, because we're not telling that story. But
what story?
I'm pretty sure it was Jana Hill.
Jana Hill. I remember that name.
Yeah, so she was a year older than us, and I had a date with her. I think she was in a class with Holly Struther, and Holly was a year older than us, and they were friends. They were part of the hi-hats and that type of stuff. And how I managed to get a date with this girl, I have no idea. But I remember I looked forward to it forever. So finally the day comes that I get to go pick her up for the day. We're going to go to a movie. Now, first of all, I didn't have any money, and anybody that knows me knows I didn't do any preparation prior to the date to earn any money. I was just kind of hoping God would throw down $20 and take me to the movie. And as luck would have it, I found $5 underneath my bed before that date. I don't know where it came from, but at that time, you remember getting into a movie on a matinee was, $1.50, $2. It's fairly cheap to go to movies. So I got this money. So I go to pick her up. Go to the door, knock on the door, do the whole gentleman routine, come to the passenger side of the car. I let her in. Unbeknownst to her, you have to let me into the Vega from inside the vehicle.
I remember that. Yeah.
Because the driver's door won't open. So I'm being as smooth as I can possibly be with this upperclassman girl. And I'm like Can you just
pull the handle?
Pull the handle.
I do remember that.
Yeah.
There's many a times I screwed with you over that one where I would just sit there and.
Oh my God, it was terrible.
Terrible. Oh yeah.
They broke the window out of it. We had to put plexiglass in there so that you couldn't roll down the driver's side window. No air conditioning. It was
plenty of heat.
Oh, plenty of heat. But that car.
Hey, but it looks sporty. That's important.
Look at it. It's amazing.
Derrick, what was your first car? Did you not get one till you graduated? Because we drove you around all through high school.
Yeah, you did. My parents did not believe in getting me a car.
Why would
And
they?
I got one once I graduated. It was, what'd you say?
Why would they? Your two white buddies are picking you up every weekend.
Pick you up, you better give them a call.
Yeah, and they'll just pick you. You keep, for some reason, going to the corner and letting them do it.
Wow. Hey, my first car was a Dookie Brown Ford Pinto.
Dookie Brown.
I remember that.
Dookie Brown.
I do remember that. You didn't get it till like your junior year.
I think I might have been a senior.
Yeah, it might have been early in your senior year. I remember that car.
I do too.
Awful. It was an awful car.
I thought I was going to get to stop picking you up. No.
Yeah.
We had to look at the Dookie Brown Pinto every time I picked you up.
I had to carry your contract a little longer.
You still had him on. You still had us on retainer.
Yeah.
If it doesn't start, I'm calling the guy with the Vega.
Right. Hey man, listen, and we there was no cell phone, so if you got stuck somewhere, you were stuck.
Yeah.
You were done.
You started walking.
Yep.
You couldn't.
Or you got in the back of a hillbilly's truck and you went for it.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
And you went through county lines and into fields, and you stood in the back and wondered if this is how it's going to end. Me and Derrick we're going to leave this earth out in the middle of nowhere, and all that our friends are going to be able to say is, well, they got in this pickup truck.
John, hey man, I thought I had, I thought I was going to be able to get out of it because I think he liked you. He saw them bangs you had.
I was rocking them. I know that. I was rocking those bangs.
I don't know nothing about the colored fella, but that other boy's got a purty mouth.
Oh my gosh!
I love it. That's
now,
great.
Derrick, did you have any girlfriends in high school that we knew of?
I had a few girlfriends. I had some that were secret.
That was what, you know what? In all seriousness, was this because you were black and they were white?
You better believe it.
Yes, that probably, I wouldn't doubt that. I wouldn't doubt that.
Oh yeah.
So.
Oh yes. But hey, we had to make it do what it did.
That's what you did, man.
You know.
So Derrick, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of This Old Cross. And, we're gonna need the names of them young ladies.
and by the way, was the Pinto a hatchback? Let's really get him in trouble.
No, the Pinto was not a hatchback. It had its own separate trunk. It was a new model.
The upgraded.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I tell you, those were some really good times. You know,
yep.
And we spent a lot of time together. And let me tell you something. Most people don't have the relationships as long as what we have experienced.
Yeah.
You know, mm-hmm. I've known y'all for a long time.
Sure.
You know.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's so much fun because we had, we've had Todd Daniel on, and we had Bart Alford on, and now we've had you on. I'm sure we'll have a multitude of people on, and literally every time, everybody has said, it is so bizarre that I haven't talked to you guys in 30 years.
Right.
And we dialed up the phone, we got on the screen, and it was like nothing had changed. And we just kept having those same conversations over and over. And we keep reliving those same moments. And they're the things that defined our lives.
Yeah.
It defined who we were as individuals.
Derrick, it's
not a hard line to draw that direct lineage into you being a pastor, me being an idiot, and John being a family man. I mean, anybody could have seen that coming except for us at 14 years old.
Wow.
But now we are where we are now. And
I'm telling you now, if I was near San Francisco right now and you told me where you'd live, I'd go right to the corner of your neighborhood and pick you up.
What he didn't say is he'd keep the car running.
Wow.
Unless it was a Pinto, and then you gotta pump the gas and keep the clutch engaged.
Was the Pinto man. Was that Pinto a stick shift? Was it a?
No, it was an automatic.
It was an automatic.
Hey, and if you want to know about the Pinto, I'll tell you, this is the one thing that made it stand out. If you took a hard right, green antifreeze would come out of the manifold onto your feet.
Onto your feet?
Onto your feet.
That might be worse than the Vega.
Are you Fred Flintstoning that automobile, or did it just pour out of the gas pedal onto your feet?
Yeah, yeah.
Holy crap!
I don't know why it did that, but it did.
Hey, my wife grew up the daughter of a mailman, and her first car she shared with her brother. She is 8-9 years younger than us, Derrick. And her car had a hole in the floorboard. You could see the street while they were driving. And that's because he didn't have any money. And, I got that little red Mustang I drove our junior and senior year. And the only reason I had that and not the station wagons, because my mom and dad by this time had separated and got divorced. And dad just left the car there and said, you can drive this. And I was luckier than all get up that I had that, because that was, we were all in the same car bit. My station wagon was the fastest of the three.
That was one fast rocket ship.
Oh, yeah.
My car was not going to pass anything, including the 9th grade.
Yes.
My gosh, man.
That thing was a piece of crap.
Well, we're like the station wagon wasn't a good date car. You would think so with the station wagon in the back, but I had no game. All I had was feathered hair.
I'm pretty sure I lost John's virginity in the Vega. I had gotten rid of mine long ago, and so I just lost John's too.
Wow.
I was one of those guys that always had a girlfriend from another town that has never.
She's from Niagara Falls.
She's from Niagara Falls, and she's not here.
Wow.
So I talked to her. Well,
hey,
guys,
Derrick, before we get off of here, do me a favor, and we talked a little bit last night about your 40 days of worship, and last night I was
fasting
12 day 12, and I think you're on day 17 now.
Yeah.
And so I did a little bit of research, and I went back and I listened again actually today, and you talked a little bit about Matthew 5:9 and being the peacemaker, and I think that is oddly symbolic of the conversation we're having today, is that no matter our differences and where we live and where we come from and our creed, our color, our background, sexuality, it doesn't matter. We're still able to come together and be the peacemakers.
You bet.
If you don't mind, share a little bit of that with us and tell us where you're at.
You better believe it, man. Hey, well, it's probably been a few years that I made the actually I remember what exactly the situation was that really made a significant change in me. Do you guys remember? It was a couple years ago. There was a black man got shot, and I think it was in Dallas. And then they had a protest march, and then all this was happening in the same week. There was this maniac who was shooting at cops.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So during that experience, it all happened in a matter of about 4 or 5 days. I had every emotion. I was angry that another black man was shot and killed. I was upset that this guy was shooting cops. I got a lot of friends that are cops. I got relatives that are cops. And so I had these mixed emotions, and there's turmoil in society. So the pastor, the main pastor of our church, the senior pastor, wanted me to pray over our campuses of our congregation on Sunday. And I consider, whenever I get up and share something from the Bible or from the pulpit, I want my heart clean and my mind right. I don't want to get up there and say something crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To lead somebody this way or that way.
That's what podcasts
And,
are for.
Yeah. And so here I am, you know, I believe it's like a Thursday, and I'm thinking, I've got to do this. This is my responsibility. I know that I'm the person that's supposed to do this. I better get a hold of God. And so I went into just a kind of a prayer hole in the ground and just really cried out to God. And during that time, I made a decision that I was never going to allow any kind of political view to inhibit me from being a bridge to anybody, no matter what they think or what they look like. And so I don't discuss politics. I mean, I can talk about what's going on, but I don't have any emotion to it, and I will never, ever allow that again to become get in between me and somebody else from me being able to share what's inside me. So that's when I feel like being a peacemaker really kind of took a bigger role in my life.
That's powerful.
Being able to see somebody else's side or what they're thinking, what they're feeling, and you know, to see all sides of it, you know, and to listen to people and to find common ground. You know, that's a big piece. Finding common ground. Everything is not got to be a battle. And we're, you know, fighting about Trump and fighting about this president or that politician is ridiculous. You know, it's really ridiculous. And so, yeah, being a peacemaker, man. You know, actually, Jason, that's one of the largest or the greatest commandment or calling that we have as a Christian or a believer, is that God calls us to the ministry of reconciliation, and that wherever we walk, wherever we put our feet, we're to be the voice of reason. We're to bring that peace, and even if it's chaotic, you know. Yep. So peacemaker, that's a big deal for me. That being a bridge maker, man, that's what I want to do. Be a bridge maker.
Well, you've always been that, man, and that's something I've always admired of you. Is you've always been a level head, and you know. When the rest of us were acting like idiots, you were always kind of the level thought. Now, you were as big an idiot as the rest of us.
I was an idiot, Jay.
But you had some balance. You had some balance to you, and I cite that to your parents. And I think that you had great parents and got a great foundation for it. And so I tell you with all the love in my heart, because I'm a spiritual man. I may not be a religious man, but I am in awe at your commitment level, and I certainly appreciate it.
Hey, thank you, buddy. I appreciate that.
Hey, so tell us about the fast. Now, is there a specific reason? Is it for something for symbolism for God yourself that you're going to have entered this fast? I know we fast for different reasons. I've fasted for different reasons. What's the fast?
Fast because I'm fat.
Yeah.
that's why I usually have to fast. But talk about what you're doing that for.
You know, this fast for me, and you know, there's a lot of things in our walk with God that are that don't have anything to do with us and God. It doesn't have anything with anybody looking at it or what anybody else might say about it. But for me, I really wanted to leave this time of quarantine a better person, a better man, a better father, a better listener, a better friend, thinking good and really allowing good things to occur in my life during this time, not just be held up in a room somewhere. And you know, oftentimes just in my walk with the Lord, you know, to take something away, to fast something that I like, and it can be the internet, it can be sports, it can be food. You know, it's really to me a reminder of what I'm doing. You know, it doesn't motivate God that I'm doing this or that. You know, I'm not trying to win a prize or put a, you know, do something like that. I just want to make it count for me. I want it to be a reminder. You know, I'm tell you something, man. The most spiritual times of my life was when I was hankering for some toast and I give up bread.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a moment there when you are pressing in and you want something different for yourself. You want, you know, I mean, I'm well aware of myself. You know, my mistakes, my problems, my issues, and I know this is the same with you guys. We're always looking to get better, you know, and I don't believe we land somewhere for just no reason at all, like a feather in the wind or a leaf floating on the wind, but that God, there's providence, and God has things for us to do and places for us to be, and he's involved. And so if we're in this situation right now, I don't want to be a person that overlooks it or just thinks that this is just a problem that happened and I just need to wait it out. But what is it that God wants to do to me and do with me and in me during this time? That's what the prayer and the fasting's about.
Yeah, God don't really care that you're not eating cheese.
You're right. You don't care.
It's about the commitment. It ain't got nothing to do with cheese. Don't get confused.
Yeah.
Yeah. And listen, guys, we're going to wind this thing down. And listen, we don't do this all the time and do that. I'm going to do something that we normally never do before I sign out of here. But first, I'm going to open it up to this. We have a direct lifeline to Derrick, who is a pastor. And I'm going to tell any of you right now, if you're dealing with anything, I'll pray for you. We all say we'll pray for you. If you need to contact Derrick, you can get a hold of me. I will get you in touch with Derrick. Derrick will sit down and pray with you. He will counsel you in any way you need. I am not a certified counselor. I can give advice and do something like that. But when you need prayer and you want someone that's there to do it, Derrick will do that, and I will hook you up. Jason also can hook you up to Derrick, and we'll do that. Derrick, we never do this. We're going to wind it after this. Say a little prayer for all of us right now before we get out of here, and then I'll get this thing out. Jay's not a big praying man. I do, but I've got a pastor, and by gosh, say a little prayer for us, and then let's get out of here.
You better believe it. Well, first I'll say this, because, even before coming on here, I just thought and considered folks that are sitting at home dealing with stress, whose money is tied up because of loss of work. And they're dealing with all kinds of stuff going on in their family. We're all men here. We know how life can be, going through those changes and going through those ups and downs that we go through. So I want to pray for them, if that's all right. Lord, we just come before you, and I thank you just for these two men that have been my friends, that have been people around me to be an example of me and to take care of me and just be brothers. And I thank you for this opportunity to come together and just celebrate life, celebrate what we've seen, how we've changed, where we've come from, and the good thing that you've done in us, Lord. And I just pray, Lord, for any of those listening to this podcast, Lord, dealing with stress and dealing with issues in marriage and dealing with things going on with their finances and their employment and even with their kids, God. I pray that you would come. That you would come and you would breathe life, that you would come with faith, that you would come with strength, that you would come with new joy, not based on circumstances, but based on you, based on trust in you, based on believing that you're with us in every turn on the journey. And we thank you for this. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Hey, guys, this has been a wonderful. Derrick, thank you so much for coming on. Thanks for that reflection at the very end. Jason, that was a great setup to ask him about that. The fast, it's fantastic.
This has join us next week for next week's episode entitled Titties and Beer.
And our guest is Derrick again. He's coming back. No, really, we want to thank everyone that's listened to this one. We appreciate all the feedback. Give us more feedback. If any of you need to contact Derrick, do reach out to us. Share this with people. Get it out there. This was a great time. Jason, what do we say at the end of every one of them?
Deuces.
Deuces. All right, guys. We'll see you next time. It's Two Farts in a Can, and have a good one, guys.